everyone, and welcome to another rousing episode of Comic Book Late Night Live. I'm your host, Captain Logan, and with me as always is my wonderful, magnanimous co-host, the Curious Lo.
Hello, good evening.
And Lo, late at night, kicking back the caffeine and trying to keep the energy levels up. Hello!
Not sponsored, just all the Dr. Pepper caffeine.
That's why she's showing you the back of the can. So
of course.
This evening, Lo and I have some books to talk to you about from last week. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do this last week because as we bestow upon us podcast button. But this evening, luckily, the broadcast button is back, and we are able to broadcast live in all of our geeky glory. So we've got somewhat of a lopsided week this week. I have a number of books. I have actually the same number I did last week. I talked about 12 books last week. I'm going to be talking about 12 books this week. The Curious Lo has 4.
Woo!
So I will do my level best not to totally dominate, but I read every Rebirth issue this week, so there will be some of that going on to talk about some major stuff and some really just good issues. I had another wonderful week this week, so looking forward to diving into it and talking about it for you folks. Everybody watching live, thanks a bunch for staying up late and hanging out with us. If you want to leave comments throughout the show about stuff we're talking about, we will periodically take a look at the chat box and respond to you and talk to you during the show. We'll have a little Q&A at the end of the show, a little open forum, and you guys can talk to us, ask us about other kinds of things besides the issues we talked about this week in comics, superheroes, sci-fi, pop culture, that kind of stuff. And but mostly comics because it's a comic show. And let me also remind everybody, as always, to oh, actually, no, we've already got one. That's the thing, is that people jump in like an hour before the show and start chatting. We already have a person who guessed one of the books that Lo or I are anticipating for this coming week. So, sorry, folks, but nobody else is going to get a chance to code because the Accumulator already got it. So, we will reveal our books a little bit later on, the stuff that we're looking forward to most this coming week. And I guess I should say today, because it's after midnight, at least here, and new books come out in just a few hours. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and just dive right into stuff. Lo, I suppose I will begin because because you started last week and because I have a lot more stuff to talk about, so I will be rattling off the words more this evening.
Rattle the words, Cap. Rattle the words.
Rattle the words! Thanks, Lo. So, I'm going to begin with my number 3. We count down our top 3 books from the previous week. My number 3 book this week is Daredevil number 8, written by Charles Soule, with art by Gordon Saduska. One of the reasons that I'm talking about this particular issue is because I especially like the art this time, and have with this book going all the way up. This is kind of a fun... It's not a one-and-done issue. It's setting up the next arc, but it is an issue that's pretty easy to pick up and read, and maybe not even continue on with it if you didn't want to. But it is a really fun, 22-page issue to just jump in and jump out of, where Matt Murdock is playing poker in a tournament, and he, interestingly, of course, doesn't know what cards he has because he's blind, and he has to decide how he's gonna play the game based on other people's heartbeats and other kinds of things that he can figure out with his other senses. And it turns into kind of a battle of wills between him and another player who has telepathy and is able to keep winning because he can read everybody's minds. But when he gets into Matt Murdock's mind, he can't tell what cards he has because Matt Murdock doesn't know what cards he has. And I thought this was an absolutely wonderful kind of situation to throw Matt into, and it really gets at the core of who Matt Murdock is and the idea of the man without fear, where he takes these giant mega risks, and it's a lot of fun to see if he makes the right call or not. One little nitpick I'll throw in with this, though, because I thought it was really strange and ultra convenient, was, and this is the first thing I thought of with this situation. I was like, well, now, wait a minute. How would you know which chips were worth what value? if you can't see. And Charles Soule kind of wipes that under the rug by saying they're all the same values, so he doesn't have to worry about that. Is that really what it would be like in a high-stakes poker tournament? I think not. So that was kind of odd, but wonderful start to this new arc. I know a lot of people aren't loving this book and don't like this status quo and premise right now of Matt Murdock. People no longer knowing who he is and doing kind of the one more day thing with that. And I hear you. That's totally fair. And it kind of feels like we're stalling out until the next time everybody figures out who that Matt Murdock is Daredevil again, and we allow people to have their memories back if we ever do that again. But despite the fact that that's what Marvel decided to do, whether or not you'll like that, I am enjoying Charles Soule's writing on this book a lot. And it's not perfect and it's not as good as Wade, but we've got that gritty atmosphere back. And like I said, the art in this is dynamite, I think. I really like all the reds and blacks where it kind of feels like we're in Matt's mind a lot. And I also really like all of the Battle of Will stuff inside of his mind, where the telepath tries to get in his head and bring him down, and it evokes a lot of imagery from Matt Murdock's history, where they're in a boxing ring and they fight with swords, and so there's a lot of really fun dynamic action that happens inside of his mind, and there's really no fisticuffs beyond just the stuff in his brain. So anyway, that was a pretty decent issue. Lo, what is your number 3 this week?
I have to say, I dropped that book just because I had to drop some things with all the new DC stuff coming out.
I've been back and forth on it. It's weird how many times.
But that issue sounds really cool.
It is, yeah.
I love it. That sounds like such an interesting premise. I might have to just pick that up if they have back issues of it tomorrow. But all right, my number 3 is Poe Dameron, number 3. Number 2 did not make it into my top 3, even though I thought it was better than the premiere issue. But I really, really liked this issue specifically. I love the idea of this like giant monster thing that's inside the egg. And I was always really intrigued by this like religion thing that was just like protecting this egg. And I like that we are going after Lord, whatever his name is now, and that he's apparently in prison, which is pretty cool. I like the dynamics of Black Squadron.
Can we just call him Agent Egghead? Can we just call him Agent Egghead? Because that's who he looks like. Vincent Price, and he was going after a giant egg, and he's Agent Egghead. That's his name.
Agent Egghead works. That's fine. But yeah, I quite like this, and like I was saying, I really like everything with Black Squadron. I like them sort of fleshing out their characters, if only just a little bit. I mean, it's just like quippy stuff here and there, but I like getting the sense more that they are kind of like this tight-knit sort of family before the movie. And I imagine we'll get a little bit more of that as time goes on. But yeah, fun issue. Like I said, I didn't have a ton of stuff this week. I imagine if I had more, this might not have made my top 3 because it was just sort of a fun issue that had stuff going on, but it wasn't like mind-blowing or anything. I just really didn't like Howard the Duck this week, so I had to not put it in my top 3. Yeah, number 3 was Poe Dameron, number 3.
Wow, that's unusual. I can't wait to hear why you didn't like Howard the Duck this week. It has made your top 3 before.
I know. And it's like right up in there with some of my favorite books right now. This issue just didn't grab me. It was a lot of like backgroundy, like catching readers up on what has happened and like very exposition-y. I don't know. It felt like nothing happened, even though there was a giant robot in it. It just, meh. It didn't grab me.
Oh, Red Letter and Talise just mentioned that that you were talking about a different character than Terex. Yeah, okay. But Terex is Agent Egghead.
Oh, okay.
So Poe Dameron is kind of being developed as a more noble Han Solo type, right?
They even called him a scoundrel in this issue.
Yeah.
And I think they bolded the word. I was like, you guys are hitting the nail on the head there.
just a little bit. Yeah. Where he's almost like a straight up amalgam of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, at least when he's the pilot.
Yeah.
And
he's an interesting
making
character.
a big deal out of that.
There's a reason I have a shrine to him right here. It's not a coincidence. favorite character.
Well, see, I'm starting to understand that more reading this book, and giving that guy a little bit more dimension and seeing what he's all about, and because you guys with that movie, I just could not understand the love for that character.
He's like, one hell of a pilot, Cap. He's one hell of a pilot.
Okay, I'm sorry. I missed that one character trait that we got in that one scene.
And he's so like snarky.
I'm not saying that's his only character trait.
Poe Dameron's awesome.
No, he is super snarky, and he's another big risk taker.
He is.
And constantly playing the lottery, that guy. He and Matt Murdock should play cards together. It would be fun to see who would win. So my number 2 this week is completely predictably Superman in Action Comics. This is number 957. And no, I didn't pick it just because we got the numbering back, but yay for getting the numbering back. This means that we are finally going to get to see Action Comics and Detective Comics number 1000. Very excited about that here in the next couple of years. So this is, as I've been talking about ad nauseum, just an extension. I'm saying that this is what of a book I'm loving and was constantly making my top 3, so no surprise that this is here. Lois and Clark by Dan Jurgens, and this feels like what the very next arc of that would have been, except a bigger deal and more important. And well, in fact, I shouldn't say the next arc, because if that book had continued to go for very long, it probably would have continued to be like if Rebirth hadn't happened, it probably would have continued to just be the original 90s Superman, original 90s, just the Jurgens is writing him like the 90s Superman, the original Superman before the 52 Superman, continuing to be in the background and hidden. And now that he is the only Superman around, he's allowed to get into the limelight again. And so now it's Action Comics appropriately. So what we've got going on is Superman is dead, and our Dan Jurgens Superman is trying to decide what exactly he's going to do in order to help people. And before he has a chance to really make up his mind, Lex Luthor shows up and we've been seeing images of this everywhere, in this suit with the Superman emblem, bright and lit up like a neon sign, just like you would expect Lex Luthor to do it. And he kind of pronounces himself the new Superman and says, I'm here to protect you, and nobody has to worry. I have your best interests at heart. And of course, you can trust him because he's Lex Luthor. And Superman, Dan Jurgens Superman is immediately like, yeah, no, I don't trust him. And I like that he and Lois have a conversation about this, and she says, well, we don't know for sure. Like, we don't have any evidence. We don't know for sure if he's going to be, if he's the same kind of Lex that we had in our universe. How do you know that he's not altruistic and he doesn't have people's best interests at heart? Well, we know because we've read this guy in Superman comics for the last 5 years and Justice League and stuff. And he's a different character to a degree, but he's still Lex Luthor. And so Superman, of course, is spot on about that. But so he goes to confront them about it. And long story short, Lex very quickly, at least for Superman, kind of shows his true colors, and they go at it. Meanwhile, other random things from 90s Superman are showing up and rearing their heads, and no one knows why that's happening. There's a Clark Kent who just shows up and is like, I'm going to report this. I'm going to cover the story and be a reporter. And Jimmy Olsen is like, but everyone knows that Clark Kent and Superman are the same person, and you're supposed to be dead, but here you are. And we don't have an explanation for where he came from yet. And then at the end, and I feel like I can tell you this because it's on the cover. At the end, Doomsday shows up. And this could get really silly and make no sense really fast, or it could be absolutely fascinating. It does certainly feel like we're kind of spinning the greatest hits record of Dan Jurgens and popular 90s Superman, and it could get stale and but obviously it's tickling my nostalgia bone, but it has been all this time, and it's going to get old pretty soon if it's not if he's not going somewhere with it. So I am really interested in it, and obviously, I put it in my number 2. It's quite good. I like all the talk in this about what Superman and who he is, not even so much versus the 52 Superman, just to his son. Like he's constantly having to explain to him what his values and ethics are, and I really like that. I just like putting all that on the table and comparing it to Lex's values and those sorts of things. But yeah, you get to the end and we see something we haven't gotten to see in a really long time, which I really appreciate. And you probably need a Dan Jurgens in order to give us that. And by the way, this is kind of a repeated panel from the first time we saw Doomsday back in the 90s. But I'll show you the last panel of this because, like I said, it's on the cover. But hey, he's back in his containment suit. I haven't seen this in a long time. We like to forget that Doomsday even had that thing. He's always just wearing the green shorts and having the protrusions. And so something is going on where it looks like maybe somebody knows where the Superman came from and is throwing his past at him. Maybe. I don't know. That's my guess right now. I guess we'll see where it goes. But man, we're back to the kind of Superman that I remember, and written that way, not just with all the trappings of the Superman when I was a kid. And I'm really excited about it. Superman still above Action Comics. I'll talk about this with Detective a little bit later. That's appropriate here. I'm glad we took it off Detective, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But anyway, yeah, I'm stoked. I don't know how many other people are as excited about Superman right now as I am, but I'm quite excited.
Nice.
Whoa!
My number 2 was Lumberjanes, Gotham Academy, number 1 of 6. I'm sure everybody definitely expected this to be on my top 3. And the only reason, really, that it isn't my number 1, because what is my number 1 in this were kind of equal to me, is the art. I mentioned this last week for the small little preview that was at the end of one of the comics. I forget which one it was at the end of. I did not love the art in this. And it's like this weird amalgamation of the art from Lumberjanes with the art from Gotham Academy. I don't think the Gotham Academy characters look good in this art style. The Lumberjane ones are fine because it's pretty similar to the Lumberjanes art style. But yeah, the story was great. We have one of the camp counselors has disappeared and one of the teachers from Gotham Academy has disappeared. So naturally, the two groups of children are trying to find their missing people and run into each other in the woods. And there are cloaked, like, skull creatures that are trying to kill people or take them at least, and jumping over rivers and people getting kidnapped. It's all very Lumberjanes Gotham Academy. These two comics were made to cross over, so I'm really happy that this is happening. Strong start to this. I'm excited to see what happens with them. Obviously, I'm sure all the characters will be fine because it's a crossover and they're not going to kill anybody off. At least I don't think so in this book about children. But yeah, I quite liked it. There's 5 more issues to go. And I really hope that the art isn't the same in every single issue, because that's going to make me kind of sad.
I kind of thought that's where you would land on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, your trepidations about it last week, and I figured that's where it would go.
Yeah.
But I'm glad if the writing is making up for it.
Yeah. I still really liked the issue itself. It was just like, I got used to it, I think, by the end. And so we'll see going forward, since it's what I'm expecting. Yeah, I don't know. It just threw me off because I'm so used to these characters looking a very specific way, and then they just look like nothing like what they look like in their actual comic, that it's like weirding me out.
Oh, that's strange. See, I know we talked about this a little bit last week. Sometimes it's really fun to see other characters in somebody else's art style.
Yeah.
Like with the Turtles Batman crossover, that was kind of, seeing the Turtles in more of a Batman kind of, at least a current modern Batman art style. Although there was a little bit of throwback to dark 80s stuff too, I guess. But like sometimes that works really well. I wonder if other people are having that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and reveal my number 1 now. And Lo, my number 1 this week, and I know you got this, so it has to also be yours just by proxy. My number 1, so we can just talk about this together, is Wonder Woman Rebirth.
Yeah,
Wonder Woman Rebirth by Greg Rucka, with just glorious artwork by Matthew.
Oh, yeah.
Lo, I was just riveted by this, and I'm not a big Wonder Woman person. I don't usually read this character, but I am so on board for Greg Rucka's art on this. I'm going to be really interesting to see how well he plays this as a mystery and as an unraveling conspiracy that's been going on for all this time with even Wonder Woman herself not knowing exactly what her origin is and having all these conflicting things throughout the eras, and discovering that the 52 origin and things about her past are just lies and not true. It's a thing that could end up under Greg Rucka's pen, and given what we had with this introduction to it, I don't think it will be this way, but it could so easily it would turn into, if you're not careful, a thing that just reads like just trying to fix things and not actually telling a story. And I love that in talking about that history as being lies, we're getting to the crux of what Wonder Woman is supposed to be, both as an icon and as that character. And this idea that she's supposed to be about truth and is has been wondering if the truth is even important anymore. And you can tell that Greg Rucka is attacking the recent take on Wonder Woman head on, and he's clearly going to take what was good about that and move forward with it, but he's saying, yeah, it's just, and I've heard big Wonder Woman fans say that, but that's not a character that, again, I feel like he took me to school in this. Also was recently taken to school for what he did with Wonder Woman recently, and that helped a little bit as I was reading this. But Lo, we just had an arc with Superman called Truth, where Superman's identity was outed, and now we have a Wonder Woman arc called The Lies. I almost wish it was just called The Lies. So you had Superman Truth and you have Wonder Woman Lies, and it's just interesting to me that they were a couple for a long time, and I don't know what we're gonna do with that whole thing, by the way, moving forward, but obviously 52 Superman is dead right now, so I just kind of wonder how she'll feel about that whole thing moving on, and if he'll ever get resurrected, because that's still possible, but I seriously doubt they go there. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Lo, what did you think of this?
I loved it. I was completely riveted. I love the idea of her remembering these different lives or backstories and not really being sure what's real or not. It gave me, as somebody who has never read anything Wonder Woman, and I want to get into her, she was the character that I've always been sort of the most interested in DC canon. So I was really excited when they announced the new Wonder Woman stuff for Rebirth. And I like that through this, even though there is obviously a deeper meaning behind it, I got to sort of see just a quick little overview of potential backgrounds for her. To kind of be okay, so these are kind of the 2 to 3 sort of main accepted backstories for her, so I kind of know what's going on, because beyond this, it's the was it the 60s TV show or 70s TV show?
70s, yeah.
Is the only thing that I've consumed with Wonder Woman in it, because was Wonder Woman even really in Dawn of Justice? Who knows?
Yeah.
She was there, but did we learn anything? But yeah, I really loved this. Like you said, the art was gorgeous. Being that I'd only ever seen one episode of the TV show, this was certainly a more serious take on the character than what I had seen previous to this. So that was cool too. Already, I just love how strong of a character she is. Just right away, she's just not taking anything of what's going on. And she's no, I'm gonna figure out what the truth is, and I'm gonna make my own truth. And I don't know, I really liked it. I'm excited to see where Wonder Woman goes.
I am anticipating with this, and I could be wrong, but my prediction is that Wonder Woman is that at least this run, at least as long as Rucka is on it, and I imagine he will be for a while, given that his semi-monthly, twice a month, run is going to go back and forth between the past and the present in dealing with the lie. So we're going to have, we're going to have year one, and then we're going to have present day stuff. Lo, my prediction is that Wonder Woman finally will be the second or third best DC selling book, and that, or at least be in the top 5, and that, because anybody that looks at this, she just feels relevant in a way that she hasn't often felt relevant to me. It's kind of like punching in the face with, yeah, she's worth being as popular as Superman and Batman, and is that iconic, and is that much of a larger than life figure. She really stands for something, and we know clearly what she stands for. I mean, there's a lot of social commentary in this, not only about how she's been dealt with in comics for a long time, but how the general public perceives her. This idea of what the wonder in Wonder Woman means, I thought was an inspired thing to talk about, and I like the idea. And he doesn't come right out and say this, like in the story, the world of the narrative. She's saying that there was a time that I love her internal monologue a lot. She says that there was a time where the wonder meant awe and inspiring, and now it means people wonder about her. They wonder if they can trust her. They don't understand her. And again, I think that's somewhat of a social commentary about how about how we look at this character as society, where we go, Wonder Woman, I wonder who she is, and not the trust thing, but just so much of, I don't know what that character is and what she stands for. She's got the lasso of truth. It's not that complicated, and yet people don't know this character and what she's all about. And I just thought he nailed it. And Greg Rucka's run is one of the seminal runs on that character. I've not read it. I need to. It's so cool to see him back, and he's not holding back. He's not withdrawing any punches. He's ready to make that character relevant again. And I would love to see it happen in the comics before it hopefully happens in the movies, because it's time to have that definitive take. Isn't it really weird that you look at Superman and Batman and everybody can tell you what their backstories are, but Wonder Woman's is muddled and confused for people, and this book's kind of about that. Yeah, I was thrilled with it, and just really iconic panels. But yeah,
the art was gorgeous in this. I really liked it. Hence why it edged out Gotham Academy Lumberjanes, because the art was poopy in that. Poopy art.
Okay, so do you want to talk any more about the book you didn't like?
I don't have a ton to say about it. I don't really care for the character of Bev. I mean, I don't dislike her by any means, but I imagine for some people this was a more exciting return of a character than it was for me. It was just a lot of walking and talking between the two characters, and Howard was like depressed the whole time. That's not what this character is about. He's about like wisecracking and being silly. So it was just, it wasn't an awful issue or anything. It didn't grab me. I was kind of bored. I was just like, all right, I'll wait for next time. That's all I have to say about it. It just didn't grab me.
It's different, and Lo doesn't like it when things are different.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Okay, I'll run through the rest of my stuff. I could not get my hands on. I thought I was going to get a copy the other day. I still couldn't get my hands on it. On Flash Rebirth #1, I did read it online. I'm planning on getting a copy of it, but I just wasn't able to do that. So I'll mention that real quick. It ran out at my store and everywhere really super fast. My store sold 250 copies the first day, and it's because it was reported to be the only Rebirth issue that actually followed up and had anything to do with the Rebirth #1 one-shot that we reviewed a couple weeks ago. And I'll just go ahead and spoil this and let people know about it in case they didn't get a chance to read it. First of all, the issue is pretty good. I wasn't a huge fan of the art. It's super pencily, and faces look kind of odd to me, but it wasn't terrible or anything. as far as where we get to with the mysteries of what Rebirth #1 set up, and with Watchmen and all that stuff, it pretty much doesn't get us anywhere beyond here's the very next thing Barry Allen did after he meets Wally West and gets his memories back. And he goes to the Batcave and he does forensics with Batman. I like the thing he says about Batman as a scientist as opposed to just the detective, where he relates to him because they both use science in order to uncover facts. And they analyze the button and they figure out crazy things about it that they don't talk about or tell us what they are yet, because they say they've come to these insane conclusions and they don't even know that they have anything to report to the Justice League or what they would really say. And so basically they have figured out more or less what we already know, but they're not talking about it yet. And that's about it. Now, I will say that issue made me think that the button thing was a little bit less contrived, because it does, and I just didn't put this together before, Lo, it does come right out and say that the button was dropped by the Speed Force when Wally West was in the Batcave. And for some reason, why
was it like in the wall?
I don't know. Well,
I mean, I guess the Speed Force, like, he can phase through stuff. I guess
it's all through it, so that's, I guess that's okay. It's just like, that's a really significant piece of iconography from that book before it's a really important thing for the universe, I would think. So it's still strange and seems contrived because of that, but at least we know exactly where it came from, or sort of where it came from. That I had not put together. It's a decent issue. It's definitely mostly set up, and the thing that I really like the camaraderie between Wally West and Barry Allen and how all that's handled. But I can't tell moving forward when we get into the Flash series proper how much of it is really going to have to do with that stuff. And if we're still going to kind of linger for a while, it still feels like kind of putting a pin in it territory. But I don't know until we get into that. And I don't usually read The Flash. It's just not one of my favorite characters. I'm not usually jumping on that. So I may wait and see what people say about it, or I might at least review the first issue and see if we continue to deal with that in that book, or if that's a thing we're going to have to wait for some big event to deal with. Detective Comics number 934. Our new Batman team book that puts together a somewhat unlikely group of Batman characters, including Clayface, which is looking like it's going to be a fun thing, but it seemed like a really convenient kind of ad where Batman and Batwoman are putting this team together because there's yet another huge conspiracy to kill all the superheroes in Gotham. And I guess Batman decides to go to Clayface because he broke out of prison for a little bit so he could go watch a movie, and somehow or other Batman knows that he's at this movie theater, and he's like, this is our opportunity to use Clayface and his unique power set, and we can trust him because he's more sympathetic in 52 than he's ever been before, or at least from stuff I've read. And I can kind of see how Batman maybe gets to that. I like Clayface in 52 quite a bit, but it's just kind of hilarious because I could see him making the same argument for a number of other Batman rogues that just don't happen to have broken out of prison recently. So that's kind of funny. I think I liked this, though. I'm going to give this at least another issue or two. The big conspiracy thing seems kind of overdone and kind of generic, but we'll see where it goes. I like this team. It's basically characters that the 52 shafted initially and rushed to get back in right at the end there with Batman Eternal and then Batman and Robin Eternal. We've got Cassandra Cain, and we've got Spoiler, and we have Dick Grayson, who's still being called Red Robin, but he looks like he's just wearing like a regular Robin suit, so I don't know what that's about.
I have a question.
Yeah,
you said
sure.
Batman and Robin Eternal, right?
Yes. Okay,
because for about 20 seconds I was like, Batman Eternal? What is that?
Batman, we'll see. They had the Batman and Ninja Turtles crossover thing, and then they just made a weekly series where there's turtles in Batman.
Batman E-Turtle. He's like an online turtle.
He's an online turtle. His face mask is clear. You can see right through it.
Sorry.
And, yeah, no problem. It says www dot across it.
Yeah, good.
So anyway, I didn't finish Batman and Robin Eternal. And so there are things that this enlightened me on that I didn't know about. One of them being that Cassandra Cain is calling herself Orphan now. I didn't know that. I guess it's cool that we finally landed on a name for her since she's not Batgirl now. This nails her characterization. I think it's pretty good. I like Batwoman putting together this team because she's a soldier and she's more of a team player than Batman. She works better with a team, and so he's asking her to put this together because it makes more sense for her to do it than him. She'd do a better job. All that made sense to me. It's kind of consummate tinny in the fourth writing, where I like the ideas and a lot, and some of the banter and stuff is good, but it just feels really kind of over the top. And that's okay. What's weird is it doesn't read like a detective book. It reads like a team sort of urban warfare book, because that's what it is. But I do like that we got Batman off the title, because it's not just a straight up Batman book, and it's about all these other characters. Hopefully they'll be doing a lot of detective work, since it's a thing called Detective Comics. See, you don't have to worry about that with Action Comics, because it's a superhero thing. Inherently, there's going to be punching and kicking that happens in it. So you don't have to worry about that so much. All right, I'll go through other things a little bit quicker. Let's knock out the other Rebirth thing, shall we? Aquaman Rebirth #1. This is Dan Abnett, who I often like, but I don't know. This was okay. I like the aesthetic of it. I like the politics. I like the idea of getting back to basics with Arthur Curry and his difficulty in living between the two worlds, and both worlds that have kind of spurned him that he's trying to protect simultaneously. The big problem with this as an issue, some of these other Rebirth one-shots have been like kind of less stories or even really set up for stories, and more just letting you know what the status quo is. This has that to a degree, but it's trying really hard to be a lot of bang for your buck. And it works. It takes a long time to read, but the problem is it's just overwritten. The internal monologue, I think there's just too much of it. It goes on too long. There's a big reveal at the end about that. It's fine. It's too wordy. There's just way too many words on a page. After a while, I feel like the thematic stuff and the character stuff is kind of hit me over the head really hard, because it's afraid that I've never read an Aquaman comic before. And I feel like even if you haven't and you're reading this to catch up, we could have done it in fewer words, in fewer narration boxes. I also feel like it's trying really hard to get back to what people thought was fun about New 52 Aquaman at the beginning. We go back to that diner that we went to at the beginning of that. We get, and Arthur ordering seafood. We get back to the stuff about people not taking Aquaman seriously and stuff like that. So I feel like he's kind of aping Jeff Johns and hoping that will, reinvigorate people into wanting to read this book again. But I really liked, like I said, the political stuff and all of the kind of underwater epic stuff, and this idea that there's all this really epic, fascinating, over-the-top stuff that goes on under the sea that nobody knows about, because we all live on land and we don't know what we're missing. Star Trek #58 was another book I read. I'll just run through these real quick and just mention stuff that I read, because we've got 20 minutes left in the show. And Low read 4 books this week. I guess this was okay. We're kind of doing a Spock tribute 4-parter here to kind of say goodbye to Leonard Nimoy, I suppose, and kind of say goodbye to old Spock, who we will likely not really see much again, because this series, I think, is ending after this next arc, and it's kind of establishing the new Vulcan colony and where exactly that's going to be and what Spock's place is in all of that. And like I said, it was just okay. And then Star Trek Manifest Destiny #4. I enjoyed this miniseries overall and might eventually do a review of it. It, as I've said before, feels like the big epic Klingon bombastic action movie we would have gotten in this universe if they ever decided to make a Klingon movie. Although I guess it could still happen if we continue to go that direction. But if you like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek universe and the 09 movie, this is exactly what you would expect for a Klingon story told in that world. Bebop and Rocksteady destroy everything. #2. This is still fun and bombastic and ridiculous time travel stuff. And I love all the fun that they're having with and admitting that how convoluted this time travel is. It's a lot of fun. The Bebop and Rocksteady dealing with their pre-mutated selves is a lot of fun. I keep wondering with this time travel, though, there's this kind of mechanic that every time you change time, you create a new universe, but then somehow rather we're also able to change time in the timeline that we're in. And I don't really know how those two things go together yet, but I trust it more than I trust Legends with that stuff. So I think we might, there might be something to that. Venom Space Knight #8. This is becoming gripping and chilling, and I did not think I would say that about this book. Really subverted my expectations at the beginning by being such a fun, silly space swamp, and it has more and more become, and I think this is on purpose, and it's become more unnerving because I didn't expect it. It's become more of this haunting Venom book, and you've got Venom, the symbiote, going after Flash Thompson now, and a lot of people think that the symbiote is just straight up evil, and he's kind of proving that right now. And there's a lot of question about his identity and why he is the way he is. Did you just drop Bert for Money? Did you just not get that anymore?
Yeah. I can't read everything Deadpool.
Oh, I was just curious because
I can't do it.
Well, but I thought you read the first 4, and it's a mini, and this was the last issue, so I was just wondering about that.
Oh, I don't think I realized that.
That's just the end of it. Now it's okay because then I guess they're going into a monthly, and I'm probably not going to read that. But this wasn't
grabbing me as much as the main Deadpool book was, so I was just like, meh.
That's fair. It hadn't me either. I appreciate it more having read the end of it now and what the machine turns out to be, and that can tell the future, and the reason it's able to tell the future. We get this really cool 2-page spread of all the different things that it has seen, of different possibilities and things that will happen eventually. And it makes me wonder if there aren't some things in that spread that might not eventually actually come to pass. But yeah, it was fun. That's that spread. There's Magneto down there with the Infinity Gauntlet. That intrigued me quite a bit. So anyway, I like that more than I had been, but still don't really care about that team or a lot of people on it. And I also read Poe Dameron. We talked about that earlier. Okay, so now it's time to go on to cover of the week. Lo, did you have a favorite cover of the 4 books? I
did. And surprisingly, it was actually the Lumberjanes cover because it's the art style from Gotham Academy. And I actually mentioned this last week as well in the preview because they had this cover, and I mentioned how much I liked it. And with only 4 books, and I didn't get anything particularly exciting with Wonder Woman. I just got plain old Wonder Woman. But I love the art in Gotham Academy, so it was nice to see this on the cover, if not within the book itself. And it has all of the Lumberjanes characters drawn in that style as well. And I think they look great in that style. So wouldn't it have been smart for them to do more Gotham Academy? No? Okay.
You can't tell me that people that really like that don't open that and go, wait a minute, it doesn't look like the cover.
Yeah.
You didn't blend them? Oh, how dare you?
Yeah,
I guess my cover of the week is going to be Action Comics for obvious reasons, and I thought that was a really good cover going in. We saw this during the Rebirth announcement, and just a lot of things going on in that cover that made me want to read this book, and looked like a lot of fun, interesting things are going on. And Lex wearing a Superman suit is immediately, provocative and a thing that you want to see. But runner-up would be Daredevil, because I love covers that encapsulate exactly what's going on inside. And it's also fun that you look at that, or nice, I guess, that you look at that cover and it's what the book looks like. A lot of what's inside it gives you the kind of that feel of what Matt Murdock's view of the world is like, except a little bit more detailed so that you can tell what things are. Yeah. Well, let's go on now to our anticipated books. And Lo, we'll just go 3 to 1 again. What books are you most excited to read this coming week?
Just all at once?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Number 3 is Scooby Apocalypse #2. The #1 only came out like 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. and I had it on my top 3. It was great. I really liked it. I'm excited, really, really excited for this book. I think it's going to be a real fun blend of classic Scooby-Doo with post-apocalyptic shenanigans. Number 2 will be Han Solo number 1. I'm really stoked for this book. And I mean, I love me my scoundrels, so be excited to see some good old-fashioned Han Solo. And number 1, which is what ended up getting the Cuminator, was Year of Marvel's Incredible number 1. So even though it's an ongoing series, they're doing like 6 different like one-offs almost, which makes sense because like I talked about with the previous issue, it was like 2 very separate stories. And I want to say this one is like Wolverine and something else. I don't remember who the characters are, but but Year of Marvels was really fun last time, so I'm excited. And it's like different characters every issue, so no need to have read the previous one. They're just sort of giving you like a day in the life type of thing. Last time was Spider-Man and Ant-Man, and they were both dealing with just normal stuff. Spider-Man was just trying to go on a date, which was adorable. Oh, I just used adorable. People will be happy about that. I had people in the chat earlier being like, my guess for tonight is that Lo will use the word adorable. And I was trying really hard not to use it, but darn it, I failed.
I think one of the books on the list is going to be Adorable number 1.
If only.
You know, we keep using words like this for comic series like irredeemable, stuff like that. Just Adorable number 1.
Yeah. Who would that be? Adorable Ant-Man. Who else starts with an A? Because it always is an alliteration.
Well, often, yeah. I mean, some of them aren't certainly. You know, you've got like we like to put eyes with Hulk. You know, like the Incredible Hulk. And,
yeah, we have like International Iron Man and Incredible Iron Man and
Invincible.
Invincible,
yeah, it's kind of where that starts. Yeah, you're right. No, I like Adorable Ant-Man. That kind of goes together, okay.
It does.
He has.
I think Scott would approve.
But I feel like that's a book. I feel like that's a moniker that would be talking more about the book you're reading than the character, probably. It's like, this Ant-Man book is adorable. Lo, my 3 most anticipated, which won't surprise anybody at all, is Ninja Turtles 59, because it's just my favorite thing. And Batman number 1, I guess, would be my number 2. Looking forward to seeing what King does with that. And then Superman number 1, because, oh my God, Superman right now. So much wonderful Superman. And I don't have anything more interesting to say about those books. Those other things coming up this week.
Oh my God, Superman.
that I am most excited about. Yay, Superman. And tell your friends. And now let's go on to a little bit of open forum for the next 10 minutes or so. Rounding out the rest of the show, we're going to answer your questions, and feel free to ask us about other comic book things, superhero stuff, and away we go. C-Back's invincible. Iron Man is a lie. Iron Man is not invincible. He gets wrecked constantly. Yeah, I know. I always wondered why he was called that. I really think I don't think Stan Lee overthought that stuff, Steve. I really don't. I think he's like, what words sound good with another thing? And then, yeah, invincible. I mean, he's invincible to bullets and a lot of other things that could go up against that suit. But of course, you have to wreck it because, otherwise, people won't be afraid for your character's life, and he's too overpowered.
Carl Maxey just said the adorable Gwenpool, which personally, that's just like, you're just saying it too many times. I mean, Gwenpool is already freaking adorable. You don't need to put adorable in the title.
Yeah, at that point, it's just redundant.
Yeah. What's the point at that time?
It's synonymous. You're using a synonym with another synonym. Yeah. Mass Sci-Fi fan, thoughts on Ivy being recast for Gotham? Did you hear about this, Lo?
Yes, I did briefly hear about it. I think somebody posted it in our chat earlier.
I posted in the chat earlier, but I didn't saw that. Yeah,
I did see it.
I guess she's just gonna transform into a late teenager and be full-on Poison Ivy because she is. Because we've decided that in this show now, we're not doing the world of Gotham before Batman. We're just doing supervillains now, and we should have had Poison Ivy in the first place. What were we thinking? Now, they might do a story. I mean, I'm assuming that it's not going to be a recast thing where we're supposed to I mean, I don't put anything past that show, but I'm sure it won't be. We're supposed to pretend like she always looked this way.
Yeah,
But the way the article I read, and it could just be wrong, the way the article I read made it sound was that that actress is not coming back at all, and that the next time we see her, she'll look like that. I would have expected at least a transformation or something.
I don't know. I guess I was sort of thinking that it would just be like no explanation. This is a different character. Like, not even like, I would prefer that they just don't address it. And there was a little girl named Ivy, and now there is a teenager named Ivy, and it's a common name. Like, it would be really, really weird if they like age her really quickly or something like that. I don't know. Again, not that we put anything past.
And if that, it's got to be the same character. If it's not, then where did she go? I mean, she and Catwoman are hanging out all the time. Like, what happened to her? I bet you money it's a transformation.
Maybe she'll take some of those drugs that everybody was making, and that will make her turn into a teenager.
I imagine. I'm sure it'll have something to do with Hugo Strange and all that stuff. I don't know. William Parcell, Captain Loam. Why do you think I would know the answer to this question? How can pre-52 Superman and his family exist if New 52 Superman was pre-52 Superman all along? It's because, actually, now I've read the full question, I actually think I do have the answer, and that is we brought back a lot of things in the continuity and kind of reestablished alternate dimensions in, what was the name of that thing over the summer that everybody really detested? It's on the tip of my tongue, and I know somebody will write it down in the comments because I can't remember. Anyway, but yeah, that convergence. I just thought of it. And I'm pretty sure that's the answer. That's the reason. Manos, if it's not true to Batman, why should it be true to Poison Ivy? Yeah, I mean because they like the rogues. You know, a lot of people have always said like Batman's cool because of his rogues, and Gotham just takes that too far. Yeah, thanks, Steve. Yeah, it was converged. It just took me a minute to think of it. Red letter until she shows up and she's like, I had a growth spurt. It's because plants. Just put it on a cup. Put it on a Taco Bell cup. Because plants. Mystical Green Beanie. Discount Secret Wars? Yeah, and before Secret Wars, too. Amazing. Mass Sci-Fi fan, I don't really have anything to say about this right now, I don't think, but thoughts on Lex being in Arkham Asylum and possibly having a cameo in Suicide Squad. Arkham Asylum, tell me more about that. I don't know what we're talking about there. Oh, in Arkham Asylum in Suicide Squad. Okay, well, I mean, I guess it makes sense that that's where he's a crazy person. Ding, 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 ding. But yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't hate that take on him if we knew more about where he came from and exactly who he is and stuff. I know a lot of people just really detest that performance. Lo, are you in the camp of nothing saves that character now?
No. I think that he's a good enough actor. I think that he was giving just atrocious material to work with. I just think he needs somebody who's a better writer and a better director to write and edit things that make sense. There's only so much you could do with that material, Cap.
Yeah, I agree with you. William Purcell, Captain Lowe, what do you think of Galactus becoming a restorer of worlds in the new Ultimates book? So I've been buying that book. I have not gotten a chance to catch up and start talking about it on the show yet. So I didn't know that was happening. So thanks for spoiling that. Not a big deal. I'm actually not surprised about that, given that I guess he's a member of that team. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I collect Galactus. I've been buying those books, but I haven't read them yet.
Thoughts on the new Spider-Man game? I don't know if you saw the trailer or not.
I haven't seen the trailer yet. I haven't looked at any E3
stuff. It looks amazing.
Does it?
Yeah. Man, I'm tracking all that E3 stuff like closely.
I've been busy the last couple of days and I haven't looked at that stuff yet. Dan and I are going to do a show on that on all that next Monday. But I guess I'll start looking at that soon. I guess I need to do that. A lot of the time before a news, we do a show about news stuff. I look at everything all at once, a few hours ahead, so that it's all fresh in my mind. So I haven't looked at stuff yet, but then people keep sending me things and asking me to, tell them what I think about stuff. So I feel bad for Dan because it's exclusive to PS4, and he has an Xbox, and he's not happy about that.
Gabe and I are already in the camp of like, because we basically just didn't do the last round of consoles. We have a Wii, we have an Xbox 360, but we didn't do any of the new consoles. So we're sort of like, okay, which console do we get now? Like, because we actually have been like with job for long enough that we can afford to buy things again.
Job.
Crazy. Well, because we were both out of work for a little bit. But
yeah, I know. But I just love that. I just love the way you say that. It sounds
with
like
job,
child. Like when I'm with child.
With child.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it sounds like. It's like I'll actually have and be able to work this job in 9 months.
I don't think I'll be able to stand not getting whatever the Wii console is for the new Zelda game if it's not Wii U.
Somebody asked what we think about Arkham being. I guess we're just talking about video game news now.
Yeah.
On late night, sure.
Why not?
The virtual reality Arkham thing. Oh, it's so cool. They're going to convert that way. If the VR thing catches on, like I think it's likely to, way the motion control thing didn't. Like that low. I had to do this to think of the term motion control. I think we'll see a bunch of stuff ported that way, given that treatment, but that would be wonderful, and I would love to think that the Arkham games in virtual reality would maybe get people to do what I do when I play those games, which is stop in rooms and smell the roses a little bit and look at a lot of the wonderful detail they put into making that world feel like a real living and breathing place. I think if you feel like you're really there and you're able to look around everywhere, you'll look at more of it. And so I'm excited about that.
Well, the only experience that I've had with VR stuff is doing horror games. And they work really well. And not that Arkham is just like strictly horror, but it certainly has a creep factor. And I think that will work really well for Batman stuff. And I don't know, it'll be super cool.
Manos says he's recently become with job. Somebody said congrats. He said thanks. It's a girl, and I'm naming it the Walking Company. Well played, Manos. Fantastic. Well, Lo, was there anything else you wanted to bring up that we haven't talked about tonight?
Donald Glover being cast in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah. So now it's just 0 Hour Light.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
it's comic related. I bet he's going to be Hot Uncle
Sunday,
Ben.
I'm sure, but you guys get to hear us talk about it a little bit before. So who's he going to be?
Hot Uncle Ben.
I know. That's what our team in the Google chat keeps saying. I thought that it was probably likely that they. I mean, I thought for a long time that they're likely to put Miles Morales in that world and have 2 Spider-Men eventually. So I think there's the possibility that's who it is. But some people are saying that he's too old for that role. So I don't know. I think there are all kinds of other characters in Spider-Man that he could be that they might cast against traditional race type. So he could be kind of a lot of different people. I also said maybe Harry Osborn, but I don't know that he's too old for that too. So I don't know.
Somebody was saying Robbie Robertson.
See, and I'm not sure he's not too young for that, but maybe.
Yeah, he would be way too young for that. Although I think it's easier to cast somebody younger than it is to cast them older. But maybe that's just because I was like the only person that was okay with young, hot Aunt May.
No, I didn't have a huge problem with it. I don't know why it became 24% of the spoiler cast, but
I just remember Eric being really mad at me. That's all I remember.
But that was fun. I enjoyed Eric harassing you about that. Anyway, well, that's going to be it for us this evening, folks. Thanks as always for watching New Comic Late Night. We had a great time, and we sure hope that you did too. Thanks for indulging me with all of my ramblings, Lo, with the sheer number of stackage that I had this week.
I'm used to it by now. Hey. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, well, we'll see if the Curious Low continues to be the co-host on
Oh,
Untitled
jeez.
Late Night.
I take it back.
I'm just kidding. No one else wants the job.
Oh, awkward. You're stuck with me.
I'm stuck with her. No, that's all right. I love Lo, even when she's making fun of me. It's cool. Everybody, thanks always for watching. We sure appreciate it. And we'll see you again next Monday night at midnight. Hopefully Monday. Hopefully, if Google decides to send us the broadcast button, please Google bestow the broadcast button. Yeah. Anyway, look down from above and give us the things that we need. Give us the mana.
We'll pray to Dr. Manhattan that he sends the Flash through with the magical button that we need.
That's fantastic. I can't push it. It's
I dug for that one, but I think it works.
No, I was really impressed. That was pretty good. Well done. Yeah. She grabbed her shovel and she just went for it. Thanks again, folks.
Dug into the wall for that joke. Hey.
I am Captain Logan.
And I'm the Curious Low. It's late.
We'll see you again next week.
Bye.